Mike Davidson's morning routine was simple. Wake up, check on the animals at his veterinary clinic, then head to the daily grind for his much-needed coffee. Today, like every day for the past month, those three tall women were there again. "Your usual, Doc," Sarah, the barista, asked as he approached the counter. "Thanks, Sarah. And maybe one of those blueberry muffins, too." He tried not to look obvious as he glanced at the corner table. All three women were well over 6 feet tall, with perfect posture and identical silver-rimmed laptops. Today they were drinking green tea, holding their cups with an oddly synchronized motion that made Mike wonder if they were dancers or something. As he waited for his coffee, he noticed them watching him in the counter's reflection. The moment he turned, they all looked down at their laptops in perfect unison. "Here you go, Doc." Sarah handed him his coffee. "By the way, those ladies ask about you again." Mike nearly spilled his drink. What did they want to know? Weird stuff. Like what kind of animals you treat if you're good with exotic species. Sarah grinned. "I think they might have some interesting pets." That would explain their interest. As the only vet in town who worked with exotic animals, Mike often got curious looks. Still, something felt different about these women. The tallest one, with striking silver blonde hair, suddenly stood and walked to the counter. Her movements were graceful, but somehow too precise, like she had practiced walking 1,000 times. "Excuse me," her voice had an unusual musical quality. "I couldn't help but overhear. You're a veterinarian." "Dr. Mike Davidson," he smiled, offering his hand. "Nice to meet you." "Lyra," she said, staring at his hand for a moment before shaking it. Her grip was perfect, too perfect, like she'd researched proper handshake pressure. "My sisters and I are new in town. We're very interested in Earths. I mean, in local wildlife." Mike noticed her odd phrasing, but attributed it to a possible foreign background. "Well, if you ever need a vet, my clinic's just down the street." "Fascinating," Lyra said, studying his face with unusual intensity. "You're genetic. I mean, your kind offer is appreciated." Back at her table, her companions were taking notes on their laptops, though Mike could have sworn one was watching him through what looked like a small scientific instrument disguised as a compact mirror. As Mike left the coffee shop, Lyra returned to her companions. "Subject shows ideal characteristics," she whispered. "Kindness to animals indicates strong nurturing instincts. Genetic viability readings are optimal. The council will be pleased." The second woman, Vex, noted. "Shall we proceed to phase 2? "Yes," Lyra smiled, watching Mike through the window as he stopped to pet a stray cat. "He's perfect. And he suspects nothing." Above the coffee shop, their cloaked ship hummed softly, recording every detail of another fascinating morning on Earth. Lyra, Vex, and Kaya sat in their cloaked ship, reviewing a month's worth of data about Mike Davidson. "Look at these readings," Vex pointed to a holographic screen. "His response to injured animals shows extremely high empathy levels. Yesterday, he spent 2 hours comforting a scared puppy before surgery. And his genetic profile is remarkable," Kaya added, studying another screen. "Strong immune system, high intelligence, and..." She paused. "He makes excellent jokes." "That's not a genetic trait," Vex said. "No, but the council said we should consider all human qualities." Kaya defended herself. "Besides, our species could use more humor." Down below, they watched Mike arrive at his clinic. Today's test would be crucial. "Remember," Lyra instructed, "act natural. Like normal Earth females interested in animal medicine." They activated their holographic disguises and headed down. Their pet, a sophisticated monitoring device disguised as a cat, went with them. Inside the clinic, Mike was checking on a recovering parrot when his assistant called him. "Dr. Davidson, 3 ladies here with a sick cat." Mike entered the waiting room to find the mysterious coffee shop trio. The tallest one, Lyra, held a gray cat that was obviously distressed. "She's been acting strange," Lyra explained, following their rehearsed script, moving in unusual patterns. Mike gently took the cat, and immediately his eyebrows rose. Something felt off about its weight and temperature. "Interesting," he muttered, examining it. "Never seen markings quite like these." The three women exchanged nervous glances. "It's a rare breed," Vex said quickly. "From Canada." "Canada." Mike looked skeptical. "Which region?" "North Canada," Kaya blurted out. "The northest part," Vex added helpfully. Mike tried not to smile. For such intelligent-seeming women, they were surprisingly bad at geography. He continued examining the cat, noting its unusually regular breathing pattern and the slight hum it seemed to emit. Just as he was about to ask more questions, the cat suddenly sparked. "Oh." Lyra snatched it back. "She does that sometimes. Static electricity. From her Canadian fur." "Right," Mike said slowly. "You know, I'd love to learn more about this breed. Maybe over coffee sometime." All three women froze. This wasn't in their observation protocol. "Coffee?" Lyra asked, as if testing the word. "Yes, you know, since you're always at the daily grind anyway." Mike smiled, watching me. Their faces showed perfect synchronized shock. "We don't watch you," Kaya protested. "We merely observe your activities with casual interest," Vex corrected. "Tomorrow morning," Mike suggested, enjoying their flustered reactions. "Yes," Lyra decided, ignoring her companion's warning looks. Coffee would be acceptable for data gathering. As they hurried out, Mike heard one whisper, "The council won't like this deviation from protocol." He shook his head, wondering what kind of research project these strange women were really working on. Whatever it was, tomorrow's coffee should be interesting. The next morning, Mike arrived early at the daily grind to find Lyra already there. Her sisters sat at a different table, pretending to read newspapers, though Mike noticed Vex was holding hers upside down. "Good morning," Lyra said, her voice musical as always. "I have acquired coffee for us both." Mike sat down, noticing she had 5 empty sugar packets lined up with military precision. "Thanks. So, about your cat." "Oh, yes. She is much better. Her Canadian circulation has improved." Mike tried not to smile. "Must be an interesting research project you're working on." Lyra's eyes widened. "Research? No, we are simply 3 normal Earth females enjoying Earth beverages and engaging in Earth conversations." At the other table, Vex dropped her upside-down newspaper in panic. "Right," Mike said slowly. "Just like your cat is a normal Earth cat that runs on batteries." "Of course not," Lyra protested. "She runs on a quantum power matrix. Cat food. Normal cat food." Their conversation was interrupted by a small explosion from Lyra's purse. She quickly grabbed it as smoke came out. "Just my phone," she said calmly. "Earth phones often explode, yes. Not usually, no." Lyra looked flustered. Behind her, Kaya was frantically typing on her silver laptop, probably documenting this disaster of a meeting. "You know," Mike said gently, "if you told me what you're really studying, I might be able to help." Lyra's perfect posture softened slightly. "You are kind and observant. Our reports were correct about that." "Reports?" Before she could answer, her phone made another popping sound. A small holographic projection appeared briefly above her purse, showing what looked like a DNA strand. "Technical difficulties," Lyra said, shoving the device deeper into her purse. "Earth technology is so primitive. Complicated." Mike leaned forward. "Let me guess. You're not really from Canada." "What gave us away?" she asked, actually looking curious. "Well, besides the exploding phone and the robot cat. You called coffee an Earth beverage 3 times." At the other table, Vex face-palmed while Kaya frantically took notes. "We may have underestimated human observational skills," Lyra admitted. "Also," Mike added with a smile. Your newspaper reading friend has been holding that paper upside down for 20 minutes. Vex immediately dropped the paper, looking embarrassed. This is not proceeding according to protocol, Lyra muttered. She stood up suddenly. I must consult with my sisters. Thank you for the Earth meeting. As they hurried out, Mike heard Kaya say, the subject is far more perceptive than our data suggested. Should we abort? No, Lyra replied firmly. He's even more perfect than we thought. Mike watched them leave, wondering what exactly he was perfect for. Something told him his life was about to get very interesting. Mike couldn't shake the feeling that something very strange was going on. After the coffee shop incident, he started noticing more odd things about the three mysterious women. First, there was the height issue. He'd measured the doorway of his clinic. All three women were exactly 7 feet tall, exactly the same height, down to the millimeter. Then there were the technical problems. Every time they visited his clinic, computers crashed. His phone went crazy. And once, he could have sworn he saw Kaya's hand pass right through a door handle. Today, they were back with their cat again. She needs Earth vitamins, Lyra explained, while their robotic pet sat perfectly still, not even pretending to breathe. Right, Mike said, picking up the mechanical feline. And does she still run on that quantum whatever you mentioned? Lyra shot a panicked look at her companions. I don't recall saying that. Yes, you did, Mike smiled. Right before your phone exploded. The cat suddenly made a whirring noise, and its eyes glowed blue. Warning, it spoke in a robotic voice. Power levels critical. Initiating emergency protocol. Vex quickly grabbed the cat and shoved it in her bag. That's a new toy feature, very popular in Canada. Of course it is, Mike said dryly, along with the hovering. Hovering? Kaya asked nervously. Mike pointed to Vex's feet, which were floating 2 inches off the ground. Oh no, Vex looked down and quickly dropped to the floor. These Earth shoes are so bouncy. Mike crossed his arms. Okay, let's talk about what's really going on. First, you're clearly not human. Preposterous. Lyra interrupted. We are completely normal Earth females who enjoy Earth activities like, what was that thing called? Shopping. Just then, all the lights in the clinic flickered. Through the window, Mike saw a strange shimmer in the sky, like something large and invisible was moving above his building. That would be your ship, I'm guessing, he asked calmly. The three women stared at him in shock. How did you? Lyra began. Well, besides all the obvious clues, you just confirmed it by not denying it. There was a moment of silence, then Lyra sighed. The council said humans weren't this perceptive. The council was wrong about a lot of things, Mike said gently. Like thinking I wouldn't notice 3 7-foot-tall aliens with a robot cat. Suddenly, Lyra's holographic disguise flickered. For just a second, Mike saw her true form, still humanoid but with silvery skin and luminescent eyes. Oh dear, she said, quickly stabilizing her disguise. This complicates things. Actually, Mike smiled. I think it makes things much more interesting. Coffee tomorrow. Real coffee this time, not just you pretending to drink it while studying me. Lyra looked at her companions, then back at Mike. You're not afraid of 3 aliens who are terrible at pretending to be human, but clearly mean no harm. No, but I am curious about why you're really here. Above them, their cloaked ship hummed softly, recording every word of this unexpected development. That evening, a massive thunderstorm hit the city. As the power flickered across town, Mike was finishing up at his clinic when he heard a crash from the waiting room. Hello, he called out, grabbing a flashlight. He found Lyra, Vex, and Kaya standing in the dark, their holographic disguises glitching from the power surges. With each lightning flash, their true forms became visible. Tall, silvery-skinned beings with gently glowing eyes. Well, Mike said calmly, I guess this saves us an awkward conversation over coffee. You're still making jokes? Vex asked, amazed. Most humans would be screaming by now. I'm a vet. I've seen scarier things than beautiful alien women with a robot cat. He paused. Though I have questions about both those things. Lightning struck nearby, and the power went out completely. Their disguises failed entirely, revealing their true forms. In the beam of Mike's flashlight, their silvery skin seemed to shimmer. We are nurturans, Lyra explained, giving up the pretense. Our species is dying out. We need genetic diversity. And you chose Earth for this research. We chose you, Kaya corrected. After studying thousands of human males. Mike blinked. Me? Why? Your genetic profile is exceptional, Vex said, pulling out a device that projected Mike's DNA structure in the air. But more importantly, you show unusual levels of empathy and emotional intelligence. Our species has become too logical, too cold, Lyra added softly. We're losing our ability to feel deeply. Human DNA might help save us. Mike sat down, processing this. So all this time, you were, what? Shopping for baby daddy material. The three aliens looked confused. Kaya quickly consulted a device. Earth slang. Informal term for genetic father. Yes, essentially. And the robot cat. Monitoring device, Vex admitted. It records emotional responses to animals. Your kindness to creatures was a key factor in your selection. Another lightning flash lit up the room. Mike noticed Lyra looking at him with an expression that seemed more than scientific interest. The council wanted us to simply take genetic samples and leave, she said. But watching you, I began to think we were approaching this wrong. Usually helps to ask first, Mike said with a slight smile. Would you have believed us? Probably not, he admitted. But I believe you now, and I want to help. They all stared at him. Just like that. Kaya asked suspiciously, You're a dying species asking for help. I'm a doctor. Helping is what I do. He looked at Lyra. Though maybe we could start with dinner before discussing kids. For the first time, Lyra laughed, a sound like silver bells. The council definitely didn't prepare us for human humor. Or human kindness, Vex added softly. Outside, the storm began to fade. But inside the clinic, something new was just beginning. A week after the revelation, Mike found himself aboard the cloaked ship, sitting in what looked like a high-tech conference room. The robot cat sat on the table, now openly scanning everything. So, Mike said, looking at the holographic displays around him, You're telling me your entire species is having an emotional crisis. Correct. Lyra nodded, her silvery skin catching the ship's lights. Each generation becomes more logical, less capable of emotional connection. Which is why you need human DNA, Mike mused. But I don't think genes are your only problem. Vex looked up from her datapad. Explain. Mike stood and walked to a display showing nurturing birth rates. Look at how you handle reproduction. Everything's calculated, planned, clinical. Where's the joy? The excitement of having a baby. Joy is inefficient, Kaya stated. And that's exactly your problem. Mike pointed to another chart. Your population started declining when you removed emotion from the process. Lyra touched the display thoughtfully. The council says emotions make us weak. Really? Mike picked up the robot cat, which purred mechanically. Then why did you choose me? Your data shows I'm highly emotional, especially with animals. He has a point, Vex admitted. We selected him specifically because he feels deeply. Mike set down the cat. You know what this reminds me of? Pandas. Pan. Das. Lyra tested the word. Earth animals. They nearly went extinct because they wouldn't breed in captivity. Too clinical, too controlled. Once we made their environment more natural, let them follow their instincts. He smiled. Baby pandas. The three nurturans exchanged looks. Are you suggesting we need to be more Kaya consulted her Earth dictionary. Spontaneous. I'm suggesting you need to feel more. Mike walked to Lyra. Like how you feel when you watch Earth sunsets. I've seen your expression. That's wonder. Joy. The exact things you say your species is losing. Lyra's skin glowed slightly. The Council won't like this approach. The Council's approach isn't working, Mike pointed out. Maybe it's time to try something new. Suddenly, alarms blared through the ship. A new hologram appeared. A stern-looking Nurturan official. Report, the official demanded. Why hasn't the genetic extraction proceeded? Mike stepped forward before the others could respond. Because I have a better idea. A human. The official looked shocked. Why is he conscious? Why is he speaking? Because, Mike said firmly, if you want to save your species, you need to start listening to someone who still knows how to feel. The official's image flickered with anger, but Lyra moved to stand beside Mike. He's right, she said. Our old methods aren't working. We need to try something new. Something more human, Vex added, joining them. The official's eyes narrowed. This is highly irregular. Yes, Mike smiled. That's exactly the point. The robot cat chose that moment to jump into Mike's lap, purring with what sounded suspiciously like approval. The Nurturan High Council chamber looked like a cross between a courtroom and a spacecraft. Mike stood beside Lyra, facing 12 stern-faced aliens whose silvery skin had dulled to a cold gray, a sign of their diminished emotional capacity. This is unprecedented, the head counselor's voice echoed. The human was to be harvested and memory wiped, not consulted. Maybe that's your first mistake, Mike said calmly. Treating humans like specimens instead of partners. Silence, another counselor demanded. Lyra, explain your failure to follow protocol. Lyra stepped forward, her skin glowing with newfound confidence. Protocol isn't working. Our species isn't just losing numbers. We're losing ourselves. She gestured to a large display showing their population decline. Look at these charts. Each generation is more logical, but less alive. We're becoming living computers. Efficiency is our strength, the head counselor argued. No, Mike interrupted. It's killing you. Want proof? He pulled out his phone and played a video of children laughing in a park. The sound echoed through the chamber. Every Nurturan in the room stared, transfixed. Some of their skin began to shimmer faintly, a long-forgotten response to joy. When was the last time any of you laughed? Mike asked, or cried, or felt anything real. Vex stepped forward with data from their observations. Human emotional capacity isn't a weakness, it's a survival trait. They feel, bond, connect, everything we've lost. And look at this, Kaya added, displaying new readings. Lyra's emotional readings have increased 200% since working with Mike. Her genetic viability is the highest we've seen in generations. The council murmured among themselves. Lyra's skin blushed with a slight pink glow as Mike glanced at her. The old protocols would have us take his DNA and leave, Lyra said. But we've learned there's something more valuable than just genetic material. Something we can't extract or copy. The human capacity for love, Vex explained. It changes their very biology. We've seen it in Lyra's readings. The head counselor stood. This is dangerous sentiment. Guards, take the human for processing. No. Lyra moved in front of Mike. To everyone's shock, her skin blazed with brilliant colors of protective anger. Emotions no Nurturan had shown in centuries. The robot cat, which had been sitting quietly, suddenly projected a hologram showing Lyra's biological changes. Her enhanced readings were undeniable. Your way is failing, Mike said quietly. But together, we could find a new path. Not as specimens and scientists, but as equals. The council chamber fell silent. Even the guards seemed unsure what to do. Finally, the youngest council member spoke. Perhaps we should listen. I remember my grandmother telling stories of when our people still felt deeply. We were happier then. The head counselor looked from Mike to Lyra, noting how their presence together created readings unlike anything in their records. We will consider alternatives, they finally said. Lyra's hand found Mike's, their touch creating a shimmer of light that filled the chamber with hope. 1 month after the council hearing, Mike's veterinary clinic had some unusual new additions. A sign on the door read, Earth Nurturin Cultural Exchange Center and Pet Clinic. Inside, Lyra was helping a young Nurturin couple hold a kitten for the first time. Their silvery skin flickered with nervous excitement as the tiny cat purred in their hands. See, Lyra said softly. Let yourself feel it. The warmth, the trust. Mike watched from his office, smiling as the couple's skin began to glow with new emotions. The robot cat sat on his desk, recording everything as usual. Another successful connection, Vex noted, checking her readings. Physical contact with Earth animals is accelerating emotional recovery in all test subjects. They're not test subjects anymore, Mike corrected. They're people learning to feel again. Kaya burst into the office, her skin bright with excitement. The latest results just came in. The council's approved full expansion of the program. Mike picked up the report. The numbers were impressive. Every Nurturin who participated in their pet therapy program showed significant improvement in emotional capacity. More importantly, their genetic viability increased dramatically. It's working better than we hoped, Lyra said, joining them. And not just with animals. She was right. Through the window, they could see human families introducing themselves to Nurturin visitors. Children, especially, helped break down barriers. Their natural emotional openness seemed to wake something in the logical aliens. Suddenly, the robot cat's eyes glowed blue. A hologram appeared. The head counselor themselves. Report, they demanded, then paused, noticing something different. Their own skin had a faint glow that hadn't been there before. The program exceeds expectations, Vex reported proudly. Emotional recovery rates air. Yes, the counselor interrupted. But what about the kittens? Have any new ones arrived? Mike tried not to laugh. Last week, the stern counselor had held a kitten for the first time. They hadn't been the same since. 3 new litters, Mike confirmed. Would you like to schedule another observation session? For scientific purposes, of course, the counselor said quickly, their skin betraying a pink glow of excitement. After the hologram faded, everyone burst out laughing. Even Kaya, who'd once claimed laughter was inefficient. You know, Lyra said, moving closer to Mike, the council's also approved the first human Nurturin permanent partnerships. Is that so? Mike smiled, taking her hand. Their touch created that now familiar shimmer of light. For genetic diversity purposes, of course, she added with a newfound sense of humor. Of course, Mike agreed. Nothing to do with feelings at all. The robot cat suddenly projected their combined biological readings, showing unprecedented levels of positive response. Oh, shut up, Lyra told the cat fondly. But the data didn't lie. Something new was happening, not just between them, but between their species. Outside, more Nurturins arrived for their therapy sessions, each leaving with a bit more color in their silver skin, a bit more light in their eyes. The healing had begun. 1 year later, Mike's clinic had grown into something extraordinary. The waiting room was filled with an impossible mix: human families, Nurturin visitors, Earth pets, and even a few of the now famous emotional support robot cats that had become popular on both worlds. Today was special. Mike adjusted his tie nervously as Vex checked the decorations one last time. The ceremony room was ready, filled with a mix of earth flowers and crystalline Nurturin plants that shimmered in the sunlight. The council members have arrived, Kaya announced, her skin glowing with excitement. All of them brought their kittens. Mike peeked into the main room. Sure enough, each stern council member held a small cat, their once dull skin now shimmering with colors of joy. The head counselor was playing with a tabby kitten, completely forgetting their dignity. "Ready?" Vex asked him. "Almost as ready as when you asked 5 minutes ago," Mike grinned. The music began, a blend of earth melodies and nurturing crystal tones. Everyone turned as Lyra entered. Her silver skin blazed with colors of love and happiness, her wedding dress combining both cultures' traditions. "You look beautiful," Mike whispered as she joined him. "You should see your readings," she whispered back, making him laugh. The robot cat that had started it all sat between them, projecting their combined biological data for all to see. The readings were off the charts. Proof that love really did change everything, even alien biology. 1 year ago, the head counselor began, their kitten purring in their arms. "We thought we needed only human DNA to save our species. We were wrong. We needed human hearts." They gestured to the crowd, where dozens of human nurturing couples sat together, many with small children whose skin shifted between human and silver tones, carrying the best of both worlds. Through this union, the counselor continued, "We celebrate not just two people, but a new way of living, one where logic and emotion, mind and heart, work together." Mike and Lyra exchanged rings, his a simple gold band, hers a crystal that glowed with their shared emotions. "I promise to keep helping you feel," Mike said in his vows. "And I promise to keep helping you think," Lyra replied with a smile. As they kissed, their combined glow filled the room with colors no one had ever seen before. The robot cat's readings went crazy before it simply gave up and started purring like a real cat. Later, at the reception, human children taught young nurturans to dance while their parents laughed together. The council members had abandoned all pretense of dignity and were playing with their kittens on the floor. "You know," Mike said, holding Lyra close, "when 3 tall aliens started stalking me in a coffee shop, I never expected this. When we came to harvest human DNA, neither did we," she laughed. "But I think this way worked out much better." Above them, Earth's sun set as nurturing ships twinkled like new stars, their crews no longer just observers but family, coming home to a world where love knew no species and feelings were the greatest strength of all.